Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about Hasbro's fan first reveals that they did with their live stream yesterday. And the thing about it is, I've been collecting this stuff for I'm on my 25th year of pretty much hardcore collecting Star Wars stuff. And I'm going to tell you what I think about all this stuff coming up. So they started out talking about vintage collection and how they are going to make a lot of stuff in the vintage collection. They support the vintage collection. And I'm sure that's in response to the massive, overwhelming response to them that we want the vintage collection to stick around. I guess there was rumors about it going away, and so all this backing the vintage collection thing is going on. So they started out with this turret, and the thing about it is that we haven't seen this figure in the vintage collection yet. And he is pretty cool, sort of an expanded universe in a way, and he's a cool character. So it is actually a new character, 100% new, so they really raved about this character. So then they went into talking about the carbon freezing chamber, and the thing about this playset is that it is very bare bones as a playset would go. Now it's a big box, and it's going to take up a lot of space, but it's not a big deal for a playset. But the one thing about it is it's modular, like they said, so you can put two playsets together and make it look huge and massive. Like, you really take up a lot of space. You can fill a lot of figures out. There's some good points to it, like you could shine light through the stairs and really reenact that. So like in a dark room, have to put a little lighting under the stairs as it lights up. It's a nice looking scene. You could do a lot with this. There is a lot of potential to this. But if this is a $50 set, then you have another $50 set to make it look like a complete actual diorama, then here you are, $100 for it, and I don't know if that many people are into this set for $100. But I do think it looks pretty good when it's all set up and you put a lot of figures on it. It's pretty cool. But another problem here is that they did a really good playset with a fun action feature in 2001, and that will not work with this. This 2001 playset over here is just going to be too big to fit in with this set at all. And so if you wanted to incorporate the two, you could. Now, I really think they should have taken into account people that already had this other carbon freezing chamber should be able to work with this somehow. There should be some way to make them work together, and they didn't do that, so I don't know. It would have been nice if that was incorporated, but they didn't do that. And you do get a figure with it. Instead of two, you're only going to get one. But they did try to say that you're getting a lot more surface area, a lot more of a playset. You are getting a lot more of a playset than you get with the Jabba's Palace playset. And you only get one figure. It's a Stormtrooper. The thing about the Stormtrooper is, of course, you can always use Stormtroopers for army building. So I guess that works. And no price on this yet. I'm guessing $50. And the other reveal is a Hoth Leia? No, it's the Bespin Escape Leia. And so she's made so that she can incorporate with this display, and she could be there held back while Han gets lowered down or whatever. So this is a new figure, but doesn't really feel like a new figure, although it is. It's another variation of Leia. Now, moving on to Black Series, they're putting out this Hoth Rebel Trooper. Now, here's the thing about this Hoth Rebel Trooper. It's the only figure this year that we see that is new on the 40th anniversary, sort of. So I guess I'll take that back here in a second when I talk about another figure. But the thing about this guy is that you already have them. They're talking about full case waves of this guy. And it is a troop builder, so it does make sense. But this is kind of the big reveal here. I don't think it was that big. I think we already knew it was coming. Okay, so we are going to be getting a Boba Fett on an Empire Strikes Back card, which makes a lot of sense, and I'm not upset about it. Here's the thing. I am personally completely and totally sick of repacks. Reissues of the same exact thing in the vintage collection, repacks onto these card backs. I would like to have new figures on these card backs. It's not happening. But this figure, even in the archive wave, was so sought after, like sold out like crazy in the archive wave. Boba Fett always sells. And so for that reason, I think it's a good idea. This is actually good. Even though it's the 5th Black Series iteration that they put out, according to a couple of people that I've heard from. And so it's still a good idea, so I'm all for it. Next up is Chewbacca, and I gotta tell you, I feel like this is deja vu. All I really have to say about this is that what is your display gonna look like? Every 10th figure is gonna be Chewbacca. Am I right? Are we gonna get a special Return of the Jedi Chewbacca here in a few years? It's kind of frustrating. This is a special type of display that people are going to be showing off. Every one of these Black Series figures in this card back. Why would you want more than one Chewbacca in this? Okay, enough said about that. Hoth Snowtrooper. Okay, I have to say something about this. Wasn't this the same exact figure that was selling for $4 at Ross? Yeah, that's the same figure that was selling for $4 at Ross. Great idea. Let's pull it back out. I wonder if they just took them all out of those old packaging and put it in this. I think it's a great figure. I think it's a good figure. And on this card back, it actually makes sense, but I'm kind of sick of repacks. It is a troop builder. It can work, but I don't think there's a huge level of demand for it, and I think it'll warm pegs. So I have the same thing to say about Darth Vader as I do about Chewbacca. The people buying these figures on the 40th anniversary are going to display them all on a shelf, and what are we going to get? We're going to get every 10th figure saying Darth Vader. So, I don't know. This doesn't make sense to me. You could argue the slight differences and the slight deviations from one film to the other, but in the end, it doesn't make sense in this line. End of story. Okay, so Dagobah Luke makes sense because of the fact that I don't really want to buy a Dagobah Luke for $40 just to get a Yoda with it. That's not something I'm interested in. I'm happy with the fact they're doing this. And you're getting a whole new card back and something that never was in the vintage collection. You never had a true Dagobah Luke in the vintage collection. You had the Bespin Luke that kind of doubled. But anyway, I think this is a good one, and it's sort of a new figure on this card back. They are making a The Child Bop It toy. There it is. And before I get into talking about the big HasLab reveal, I want to talk about figures I would have liked to see that they're going to make in the Black Series for the 40th anniversary. I would have liked to have seen an FX7, a droid. I think that is a very iconic character. It's an iconic robot. You see him doing a lot of things. Why did we not get him? Okay, so maybe they don't like FX7. 2-1B. 2-1B is an awesome droid. I love this figure. I love this droid. I always thought it was awesome. Just so cool. Would have loved to have that. Why couldn't they give us a Lobot figure? I mean, why not? I don't see why they couldn't have given us something new that's just part of Empire Strikes Back world. Why not give us an Ugnaught or something along those lines, or a proper Bespin Leia? Something like that, I would have thought that's a no-brainer. Should have done that during the 40th anniversary, but no, they didn't. So now for the HasLab reveal. The reveal is it's going to be for Vintage Collection Star Wars. That's not a reveal, by the way. We all know it's got to be a Star Wars one because they didn't think any other franchise was going to work. Possibly a Transformer one, but I think it'll be a while till they revisit Transformers. But I am a little concerned that they're going to be talking about in either August or September, they're going to release this. Of course, they're making a proper prototype before they bring it out. They don't what they have right now. They can't quite show. They got to get it painted. They got to make sure that the numbers are going to work and all of that stuff before they. Why are they not telling us now? And they're giving us 2 months to get ready for it. But I'm going to tell you what I think. So a lot of people think that the HasLab project is going to be the Razor Crest. And the reason they think it's going to be the Razor Crest is because of the massive success of The Mandalorian. I personally think it's not going to be. Even though it would be cool, I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think that if they did make a Razor Crest, they would make it and put it for mass retail and make it smaller. Sort of like the Slave One. And make it just, big enough that it's bigger. The BMF Slave 1 that they're reissuing around that size, in sort of a roundabout like that ship. I don't think that they would be making this ship here to be the size of the HasLab sail barge. I just don't see it. I also don't think that it's quite iconic enough yet. I think it's something that needs some time to process, but a lot of people think it's the Razor Crest. So I was thinking maybe it's the Sandcrawler. So the thing about the Sandcrawler is it is iconic, it's epic, it's been in multiple different versions of the movies. It was in both the prequels, it was in the original trilogy, it was actually in The Mandalorian. But here's what's telling me why HasLab probably won't be the Sandcrawler. See, Disney made a bigger Sandcrawler. It's nowhere near scale, it's not as big as fans would want, but it's bigger than the vintage one. It's not a remold or copy of the vintage one like we had with that previews exclusive, but this one is pretty cool. I think Disney did a good job with it. It's got lights and sounds. It's kind of fun. The paint job's wackadoodle. It needs a better paint job. But overall, it feels better. Now, it's nothing like what you'd expect from a HasLab, but for a $100 price point, I think it's great, and it's very accessible. I like it. I think that this is probably that step between, and it's just enough to deter Hasbro from doing it, and possibly Disney not allowing Hasbro to do it. Now, some people have mentioned they might make the Rebel Transport. This is something that we've never seen in the modern line. They didn't remake the vintage one because it was more like an action figure carrying case, but it was still pretty cool. It pulled off what it needed to pull off. They never made another iteration of it in the modern line. We're talking 1995 through today. They never made another one. So all we have is the vintage one, and the vintage one, and the vintage one. And so if they made this big and massive and a lot of features to it, there's a lot they could do. In fact, they could make it massive enough to maybe dock smaller ships, could include smaller ships. But yet I still don't think this is what they're going to do. I think we're going to get a Blockade Runner, the Tantive 4 Blockade Runner, because of the fact that it is the very first thing you see in the movies. It's the first thing you see in the first Star Wars movie in 1977, and everyone knows what it is. We see it again in the prequels. We keep seeing this ship over and over and over. This ship is iconic. A lot of people argue not iconic enough, but it can be made, not to scale, but it would look good. In fact, they can make it big enough and do enough with it to make it definitely worth a HasLab. In this situation, they talk about HasLab as being a dream project, to make dream vehicles. And guess what would be the greatest dream is to get one of these unproduced prototypes. If they would include the vintage unproduced prototype as the throw-in with the Tantive 4, it would definitely secure it as being a hit. It would sell, and it would sell well. This is just something that we never had. All collectors would want this. It would be awesome. Of course, the Razor Crest is exciting, but I think this is the route they're going to go. Hey, maybe they'll prove me wrong in August and September. I look forward to finding out if I'm right or not. What do you think about these reveals? What do you think about this? All the new stuff coming. Like, subscribe to Dare Me Hanger out.